We are live. The time is 6:08 in the PM. Thank you everyone for chiming into our channel. Thank you everyone for all the kind words and the words of support and all the other videos. I appreciate all of you. In today's video, I will talk about whether private security officers should be receiving gas mask training, chemical agent training as well, and if so, what kind of questions can you ask to vet your instructors? Because vetting your instructors is very important, because if you have an instructor that doesn't have the proper training or qualifications, you're not going to have the proper training for chemical agents, including pepper spray. Anyhow, let's get started on this. So, gas masks, first off, are they available to private security professionals? And I would think that yes, there's a lot of companies that offer gas masks to private security officers. I don't think that you need to provide any proof of qualifications. I think that there might be some masks out there where you might have to provide proof of occupation. Maybe some of the masks, like Avon, might sell, or they might restrict their sales to just law enforcement or military. I'm not positive on that. But for the most part, chemical agent gas masks are pretty easy to come by. Guys, I probably would not buy a used mask unless you can verify that that mask is in good condition. Once those seals are cracked, they're broken, the chemical agent is going to leak right through, and basically you're going to have a false sense of security. I've seen some masks, they're called, I think, Mira or Myra, M-I-R-A. They only cost like $255. The question is, do those masks seal correctly? And I would say they do. Are they designed for prolonged use? I don't know. All I can tell you is I taught the chemical agent course. Well, I co-instructed the instructor class. I think it was back in November of last year at our local police academy. And I think it was like the third time that they used these Myra masks. And for the most part, as long as the students followed the directions, the mask sealed properly. There wasn't any instances of leaking. But once again, there were some students that didn't want to follow the directions, mostly female. I kept telling them, you need to put your hair back, maybe put your hair in a bun. If you're able to do that, then you could probably get a good seal. If you're going to keep doing whatever you want to do, you keep letting your hair down because you want to impress yourself, impress the fellow recruits around here, you do whatever you want. So there was about 5 females that decided, maybe 6, that decided that they're going to do whatever they want. Well, guess who's trying to help out as much as I can once the chemical agent was deployed? It was those 6, 7 females that didn't want to listen. Anyhow, private security professionals, they're able to get these masks. I want to talk to you guys about whether or not is this something that private security needs. And I would argue it depends on the type of environment. So let's just say you're working at a grocery store or grocery market. You might be saying, Sean, like, when am I ever going to need a gas mask for working at a grocery store, or maybe a Walmart or something like that? And I would make a good argument that you might be working in a city like Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, maybe Seattle, Washington, a lot of these cities where they have problems with civil unrest. If you have a gas mask, you're able to go to point A to B. So let's just say you want to go to a place of work. You might have to pass through some barriers, right? Maybe you could provide some proof of your credentials, proof that you work at the local Walmart or grocery store, to law enforcement in order for you to pass. Well, what if that checkpoint has been filled up with chemical agents, right? Now, chemical agents are used to, one of the many reasons chemical agents are used for is to deny entrances, right? So if chemical agents are deployed on a certain street, well, that law enforcement agency might be using those agents to deny entry into a certain area. Well, what if your workplace or even your house is past these barriers or within the zone, right? How are you going to pass through there? Now, if you're going to say, well, I'm going to just roll my windows up and turn off my air conditioning system, turn off the part of the system that sucks in the air from the outside, and I'm not going to be affected. Try it. If it works for you, then it works for you. But personally, for me, I prefer to have a gas mask so that I'm not affected. And for some reason, I think chemical agents affects me more than a lot of other people. Some people will go through it like nothing. Me, I hate it. I'd rather not be exposed to, especially CS. OC sucks. CS also sucks. If somebody's telling you CN gas sucks, they're probably outdating themselves. They're probably prior military, maybe pre-90s. I don't know. So I really think it's a good thing to have, guys. And also, during the civil unrest of 2020, especially, there was some private security companies that were contracted to provide crowd control, right? Now, that's a topic of another story, but these guys, I think it was Covered 6. So Covered 6 end up hiring subcontractors. So they basically ended up subcontracting or contracting with licensed private patrol operators, which allowed those companies to hire security professionals, which basically worked along the right lines or civil unrest lines, depending on how you phrase it, with the local police department. In particular, LAPD, I think Beverly Hills PD was deployed in those areas. Well, what do they end up using to deny entry in some of these areas? Well, they use chemical agents. Now, the laws have changed on chemical agents. You can only use it. There's like 11 different factors, and you have to use it against the aggressor. I could still totally see law enforcement deploying chemical agents to deny entry into a certain area. Let's just say you have a bunch of rioters popping up, walking down the street with Molotov cocktails. Police department can absolutely deploy those chemical agents. Let's just say you're working at a store or you're working along those civil unrest lines. If you had a gas mask, you could be so much more effective. But if you are like me, sensitive to gas, it's going to affect you. It's going to definitely affect you. And guys, I'm telling you, if you deploy CS and OC with the delivery agent being smoke, oh my goodness, it's gonna affect me a lot more, especially that OC. That OC, Sean does not like OC, as those of you already know. Okay. Now another thing is, I know that some of you do buy gas masks, and the question is, have you fit tested, and have you tested it against conditions that you might seek? The problem with private security is private security does not have access, in the most part, to ATF regulated items. A lot of these chemical agents that deliver smoke, the way that they are delivered is through the smoke, but you need some type of ignition, right? And that ignition usually involves pyros, right? Pyrotechnics. Well, is private security able to legally possess a pyrotechnic chemical agent? And the answer is like 99.9% of the time, it's no. Maybe a training organization that is authorized through ATF, where they have a private security training arm, maybe they'll have access to it, but for the most part, you guys don't. The reason why I'm mentioning that is this smoke that delivers these chemical agents, they will seep through the smallest cracks in your mask. And how are you going to test it? Now, I do know that there is a CS-OC fogger that you can even buy on Amazon. It's actually more of an aerosol. It's not really a fogger. And I've seen that used before. Now, the particles that are emitted from there, I think that they're actually a lot larger than those particles that would be carried through smoke. So if your chemical agent mask works with that, maybe not. It might not work for smoke. I don't know. I wasn't planning on making this video today, and I haven't been able to compare the size particles of the two between the deployment of the aerosols and then deployment of smoke-borne devices. So will your mask hold up? I don't know. Now, you can do the basic fit test. I will tell you that when I took the 3-day California Post Instructor class and some other courses, I did the fit test, right? And I was able to maintain a seal using the techniques that was shown to me. But then all of a sudden, when it came down to being exposed with like 11 different agents, one of the guys said, "Hey, dude, you have a huge gap. Like, look it's like this much of a gap up here," because I got a small face. I got an Asian face, right? And sure enough, guys, all that smoke went right through my mask, and it sucked. It really sucked. And then those of you who are buying masks, are you even buying the right size? I would argue maybe not. I used a large, and I used the small. The large goes right through. The small that I went right through. For me, for Sean, who is a food-deprived Southeast Asian, it went right through. Went right through. So then when I threw on a size small, it prevented it from going through. So if you're in security, if you're using the basic fit test models, you might want to test against a real chemical agent that is delivered through smoke. And where do you get that training from? You can't, right? Because who's going to deliver that chemical agent with smoke? You could test it in real life through a riot line, right? A riot control line, but that's probably the worst place to test. So guys, I think that private security, depending on your assignment, you guys should be buying gas masks. I think the lowest price for a mask, where maybe you don't use it in on an everyday basis, maybe once every 2 years or 3 years. I think that the Mira, the MIRA mask, that's probably about $300. I think that will do. I do have a $1,500 mask, the FM53. It's basically your military issued mask that Randy Nunez from Citywide Protection Services, that time he worked for Global Veterans, he sold it to me. He gave me like half off. And that mask works perfectly fine. So yes, I would argue, yes, I think security should have gas mask training and chemical agent training. And not just pepper spray training. I think that they should have training that trains them how to deploy in a chemical agent environment. Now, let me know from you guys. Let me hear from you. Have you worked private security where chemical agents, in particular, chemical agents delivered through smoke, were deployed in your area? Did you have problems arriving at work? Did you have problems carrying out your assignment? I really want to hear from you. Now, as for chemical agents, like a class, guys, there's a lot of instructor courses that I'm seeing now. Sabre has one. I was talking to Mike from the Professional Security Journal. Sabre has an online instructor class that's 5 hours. And the question is, should you be attending a class from an instructor that has 5 hours of online training for pepper spray? I would say it depends, right? If that instructor has never been exposed to pepper spray, that instructor has never been exposed to pepper spray, maybe even in a real life environment, they don't have a lot of real world experience, I probably wouldn't take a class with them if that's the only certification. And the thing is, they're not going to put on their resume online Sabre instructor. Now, I know that there's a lot of military guys, law enforcement guys, who have been exposed to chemical agents a lot. I would make a good argument that maybe if you took a class like 30 years ago, that this is an excellent refresher class. Or maybe you have never taken an instructor class. You've just been exposed to a lot of chemical agents. There was a time when I was exposed, I think it was in a 4-month period, like 3 to 4 deployments in a chemical agent environment. That was all training, though. But it just happened to be a bad year in training, right? Just so much CS all over the place. But vet your instructor. Ask, hey, you know what, I see that you have the certification class. They're not going to say it's online, but hey, was this an online class you took? Was it in person? And yes, it does have a lot of weight, because if you're taking an online class, like for example, I'm an OCAT instructor, my certificate 12 years ago. If you're an OCAT instructor, then you have to fight for your gun. You have to be exposed. Do you get that sort of training when you are taking a 5-hour online course taken behind the safety of a computer screen? And I would argue absolutely not. Now, how about military? Let's just say you have a lot of military experience, a lot of chemical agent deployments in training environments, and you just want to professionalize your experience. Will that 5-hour course, is that a good course to take? I would say yes. I would say yes to online. But to those instructors that think that they're going to just that have no real world experience, or maybe no experience deploying chemical agents in real life, or have no experience being exposed to the chemical agent, I would say that's not the class that you want to take. And unfortunately, it looks like Sabre, they're trying to get more revenue by offering some of these online classes. It is a shame that they're doing this, but I think we need to police ourselves within the industry. So the next time you take a chemical agent class, ask your instructor, what are your qualifications to teach this class? And okay, were any of these classes online? I would ask. And if they say yes, then they should be able to articulate why they're qualified. Guys, if they give you an attitude, they just give you bad vibes, I probably wouldn't train with them. And this is a perfectly reasonable question to ask. Hey, Code 4 Security, Private Security's here. I got your patch still on my wall. Jack Spade's here. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up right now. Jack Spade asked, or he's mentioned something like, can a Ukraine crisis happen in the United States? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely, it can. What's the likelihood? I don't know. But considering the current state of affairs, I don't think that we should put behind us that we can be attacked with a chemical agent. I mean, unfortunately, that's the only way that some countries can gain the upper advantage, is through chemical agent attacks. And if you are a private security professional, you are not immune to being attacked with a chemical agent. So I really think that you guys should seek some training that involves the gas mask deployment. I know that I think it's at the police academy. Man, there's a training that I went to, and basically I saw it on YouTube, I think. Chemical agent instructors deploying gas at a police academy, and obviously the students are facing against the wind, right? So the chemical agents are going to float towards them, and they have to basically don their mask right before the chemical agent reaches them. That type of training is excellent. I think that you should have to don your mask under pressure, and then you have to be able to clear your mask. Guys, you know what? A lot of people are over here buying these gas masks online for $300, $250. They probably tried it on once, but the question is, do you know how to get rid of the gas what's inside your mask? Because I'll tell you this, it's a scary feeling having gas mask inside of you. You kind of feel like having gas inside of your gas mask. It's happened to me 2 times during training. You think that there's no gas in your mask? True. But when the instructors tell you to state your name, your agency, and your badge number while taking off your mask, things get real. Things get real once you put that gas mask on and you inhale that huge amount of gas. And then that's when you have to learn how to clear it correctly. If you don't clear it correctly, you are going to be... Do you train for that? All right, guys, so I'm out of here. Looking for your comments, concerns. I really want to know, have you guys ever had to deal with a chemical agent in a real life situation based off of maybe military, law enforcement? I mean, did you ever have to drive through a situation where there's civil arrest to your work site, and was there chemical agents deployed? I want to hear from you guys. All right, guys, take care.